We're speaking with JP Ricciardi, host of the podcast The Brushback. He's a man of baseball, had been involved in baseball for 40 years. He's done every single job in baseball, including, I believe, 8 years as the Toronto Blue Jays general manager. JP, thanks again for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about a very controversial figure who just announced their retirement this week, not even mid-season, umpire Angel Hernandez. I don't know if you've had to deal with him or had experience with him during your time with the game. Some call him the worst umpire in baseball and can't understand how he lasted with that job for this long. What are your thoughts on him retiring?
Well, I hate to kick a guy when he's down. It's a matter of what your experiences have been with him. I was with Angel way back in 82 in the Florida State League, so I remember when he broke in. I think he at one time was a better umpire than maybe how he ended. And I think, people are piling on a little bit right now and, just let the guy retire at this point. And sometimes I think you can stay in a job too long. And I think sometimes you can stay in a competitive job like that a little too long where you lose a little bit of your sharpness, you lose a little bit of your instincts and your reactions. And I think, that's probably what happened to Angel. And unfortunately today, everything is so magnified. You blow a call as a referee, as an umpire, and as a hockey linesman in any way, shape, and form. I mean, everybody in the world knows about it. So in his case, he was making a lot of mistakes, and it was getting, a lot of attention. So I have a feeling the league probably came to him and said, listen, it's time. And I think they just parted ways that way. So I don't know if he was as bad in the beginning as he was at the end, but the ending was not real good, and it's probably better off that everybody just moved away.
Yeah, a blown call can really alter a game or maybe a career. I mean, there was the guy who I think made a bad call, and it ended what could have been a no-hitter, a few years ago.
Yeah, in Detroit. Yeah, that was in Detroit. Yeah,
and so, but at the same time, Commissioner Manfred was speaking this week about the ABS system, the robot umpire, some people call them, automatic balls and strikes. They're using it in the minor leagues, and he's saying that after they work out some tweaks, will maybe enter MLB in 2025. I don't particularly agree with this. I think that umpires not only are part of the game in official status, but also they're part of the game where I think you get to know this umpire, like say an Angel Hernandez. His strike zone was infamous, maybe for lack of a better word, but he's going to be behind the plate that day. And as a player, I think you should be able to prepare for that, like you prepare for the other team. And I believe that each umpire's individual personality, strike zone, style makes it a variable in the game. And I think that's something that should not change. It's a human element that not change. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you hit on a couple of really good points. I think, if you look at the NFL, you look at the NHL, everybody has instant replay now. Even the minor leagues. When you go to a minor league game, they have certain games that you could challenge the call. Doesn't take long. And most of the time, the umpire is right. So I think when we start getting further and further away from the human element that plays the game, I think it's going to be less of an entertainment value. I mean, look at now. There's no more Billy Martins and Earl Reavers that come out and argue. There's no more confrontations with umpires and managers. It's become a soft game in a lot of ways. And I get you want to make everything right, but right now you can video replay, if a ball's fair or foul, if a guy made a catch or didn't make a catch. So most of the game is reviewable. And, maybe from a standpoint of being able to review balls and strikes, they do the same thing they're doing, in minor league baseball now where the player can challenge and you get so many challenges on balls and strikes. But I would hate to see the umpires removed. I would hate to see them taken out of the game. Like I said, if you go back to that call in Detroit that cost the perfect game, today you could just review that and make the call and everything's right. So the umpires are a part of the game. And some of them are better than others, but we have ways of correcting those things now. And, the human element is real important about our game, and I just would hate to see that part of it go away.
Real quick though, when Billy Martin came out, when any manager comes out and kicks the dirt and screams and bumps chest, does it really change anything though? Did that really change anything?
Well, I don't know if it changes anything, but what it does is it may make that umpire sit there without the instant replay back in the day. It might have made him say, you know what, Billy's not wrong here. It's the old story of the umpire, the Dodger game, that makes the call at second base, and he calls the guy out, and everybody in the ballpark knows he's safe, and Tommy Lasorda runs out, and he's, going up and down the guy, and he lets Tommy Lasorda go crazy for about a minute, and he says, are you done? He goes, yeah. He goes, Tommy, you know the guy was safe. I know the guy was safe. But 50,000 people saw me call the guy out. What am I going to do now? So,
and see, that's the stuff that I really think is important to the game. It's each
right. So later on, maybe that guy's call, maybe he's the next call. Okay, there's the human element. That's what I'm talking about. So when you say it doesn't matter when you come out and argue, in some ways it doesn't. In some ways it does. Sometimes umpires have a bad day. You got to get on them. Hey, the strike zone, you're barking from the dugout. The strike zone's a little tight today or whatever. And, maybe later in the game you get a call. So I do think in some ways it has some effect because, once again, it comes down to there's a human element involved.
All right, JP Ricciardi, as always, a pleasure talking baseball with you. Who do you have coming up on the Brushback as far as guests?
We have Frank Menachino today, who was a utility infielder on those really good A's teams in the early 2000s. He went on to be the hitting coach with the Marlins and the White Sox. He had a big hand in changing Mike Stanton's swing. So he's got some great stories, and he's going to talk a lot about hitting. And, it'd be nice for the young kids to listen to because he's going to give a nice perspective on, what we can do today as hitters for young kids that we're really getting away from at other levels that cut the strikeouts down. So I'm real excited to talk to Frank and get his perspective on a lot of things.
That's great. It's the Brushback, and you can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. JP Ricciardi, thanks again for your time.
Okay, take care. Thank you.